Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be picking out my free book through Amazon First Reads for the month of January. Let's go! So if you don't know about Amazon First Reads, this is a benefit that Amazon provides to their Prime members. Each month you get to pick from a selection of books. You get to pick a free book, and all of these books aren't released yet. So they're going to be available in January, but they're not going to be released until February. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want more book videos. Okay, so starting out, we have a political thriller called Deep Sleep. So this one has an exhilarating character that rivals Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. Our character is Devin Gray, and he is the highly skilled action hero. He's a counter-surveillance expert, and he's the son of a CIA agent. Back then, Helen was viewed as delusional. She'd say that she was on the verge of uncovering a massive conspiracy, unable to let go of unsanctioned off-the-books investigation. She was determined to prove warranted an investigation that Devin knows led to her death. Now Devin sees the truth in his late mother's words, and he's ready to pick off where she left off. He won't let her death be in vain. Okay, so we have a little bit of a mystery. I'm gonna check Goodreads and kind of see like what the ratings are over there for people who have done like ARCs. Okay, Deep Sleep. This is Devin Gray #1. So this one, if you like it, it's going to be a series. And Devin is stopping the most dangerous conspiracy to ever threaten America means believing the unthinkable in an explosive novel by Wall Street Journal bestselling author Stephen Konkoly. Okay, so does this one tell us anything different that Amazon did not tell me? Okay, so this one actually tells me who Helen was, because when I was reading that, I was like, who is Helen? So Helen Gray was a paranoid and disgraced former CIA agent. Didn't it say that his dad was a CIA agent? Oh, okay, I guess I just assumed that it was his dad, but he grew up the son of a CIA officer. She was a CIA officer. I didn't catch that. She believed she was on the verge of preventing a national catastrophe, a mission worth dying for. Others, including Devin, believed she was chasing delusions, until he finds out what she left behind. With the help of a longtime friend and former Marine helicopter pilot, Marnie Young, and a loyal team Helen summoned just before her death, Devin is propelled into a high-stakes chase across the country. Now it's Devin's mission to destroy a covert network poised to deliver a fatal blow to the future of the United States, and also to vindicate his mother by seeing the mission through its treacherous end. That's interesting. I'm actually a little curious on what the mystery is, or like what the big secret was, but not really enough to read the book. But I actually am a little curious, like, what happened? Okay, our next one is a book club fiction, and this one is The Night Burns Bright, which that cover art is really cool. I like that. A community of people living in harmony with nature of Lucen, a 12-year-old boy growing up within its walls. At first, the commune's rules made sense to Lucen. Don't eat meat, don't fly on airplanes, don't take the natural world or its resources for granted. But after the Twin Towers fell, the House of Earth tightens its security and its rules. Don't watch television, don't read unapproved books, don't speak of those who have left the House of Earth. And with the stricter rules comes harsher punishments for breaking them. When Lucen makes a new friend in town, she opens his world to the possibility that maybe House of Earth isn't as good as it's made out to be, and more of Lucen's classmates start disappearing, never to be heard from again or spoken of again. He starts to think maybe she's right. What is really going on at House of Earth? Where have all of Lucen's friends gone, and what if he's next? Okay, so that, I'm actually surprised that sounds good. Oh, and I like the last line. It says, but be warned, not everybody who enters House of Earth makes it out alive. Ooh. Okay, so let's see if Goodreads has anything different to say. I'm actually surprised that this one has a rating right now of 3.98. I actually think it sounds better than that. Like, I'm surprised it doesn't have like 4 point something. So the main character is a 12-year-old, so I'm curious to see like the commune kind of through his eyes. I'm curious to see how it would have been different if he would have been like in his 20s or something. House of Earth, a private school nestled safely in the woods of upstate New York. It's where Lucen is taught the importance of living in harmony with nature and building a peaceful and sustainable future. But when his youthful curiosity draws him into town, into Gabrielle, a public school student living a life wholly different than his own, Lucen's inquisitiveness about life beyond the commune and questions regarding the events of 9/11 threatened to unbalance everything he thought he knew. Slowly, things begin to change at House of Earth. The outside world is off limits. Security measures tighten, new rules are put in place, and anybody who violates them are asked to leave and never spoken of again. As forbidden questions pile up, Lucien's willingness to obey weakens. Continuing to meet Gabrielle in secret only reinforces his gnawing fear that something about his world is terribly wrong. So that I'm actually kind of into this, and I'm actually curious to see where this author would go with this. And the only thing I can think of is that, like, so with him being a 12-year-old, like I said, I kind of wish that he was like a 20-year-old, and I wish that him and Gabrielle were like in love or something. I feel like that would make it better for me. I like my books to have a little bit of like a romance aspect to them. Okay, so that one sounds good, and I'm kind of surprised that I'm intrigued by that one. So our next one is a historical fiction, and it's The Lobotomist's Wife, which that cover looks cool too. I like that with the colors and everything. Looks nice. A supposed miracle goes completely awry in the hands of a megalomaniac. It sounds far-fetched, but this novel is inspired by the real-life story of the doctor who introduced lobotomy to the United States. That's interesting. This would be an interesting read. Heralded as a cure for depression, headaches, and even the baby blues, lobotomy eventually fell out of favor with good reason. Many patients suffered extreme trauma post-procedure. Some became catatonic, others violent, and many died. But the same doctor who championed this gruesome treatment refused to stop, continuing to perform lobotomies, often alone in his office, using what he referred to as the ice pick method. Oh, so this is kind of like a retelling, it seems like. So it says the author came across this story and she was fascinated. What if somebody had tried to stop him? From there, she invented Ruth, a brilliant woman who falls for the doctor. Oh, interesting. So that's interesting. It's like a retelling of like, what if he had a wife that had tried to like stop him? Okay, so this one's at a 4.13. I actually do think that this one sounds really interesting. Okay, so this one takes place after World War I. She tries to help those suffering from mental illness. She falls in love with charismatic Robert Apter. Robert is operating on patients recklessly and often with horrific results. A vulnerable young mother, Margaret Baxter, is poised to be his next victim. Margaret can barely get out of bed, let alone care for her infant. When Dr. Apter diagnoses her with the baby blues and proposes a lobotomy, she believes the procedure is her only hope. Only Ruth can save her and scores of others from the harrowing consequences of Robert's ambitions. So this is actually very intriguing to me. I'm curious to see how this book would end. Would she actually kind of like change, because it's sort of based on like this true story, but like a retelling. So is she going to kind of like change what actually happened in real life? Or is she just or is the wife not going to be able to get him to stop? So I'm actually kind of into that. I like retellings, so I'm curious about that one. Okay, next we have a thriller, and this one is called Base Notes. That's a cool cover too. I'm kind of digging these covers today. This is a thriller about a perfume artist with a lethal talent is unlike anything you've read before. A tale that evokes comparisons to works as, The Goldfinch. Okay, so I read The Goldfinch. I listened to it on audiobook, I think, and it was long, and I liked it, but it was very like, I don't even know what really to say about that book. I read it a couple of years ago. I can't really like, I felt like it could have gotten to the point a lot quicker. It was definitely very like droning on, but I actually I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it, if that makes sense. Like that one's a tough one for me. Okay, so our main character, Vic Fowler, has found a unique niche, creating scents to evoke specific memories for the wearer, the catch. These one-of-a-kind fragrances require very particular source material. Vic's not opposed to dirty work, but when a big job requires bringing in a pair of alluring yet unexperienced co-conspirators, leading to complex romantic entanglements, a rising body count, things start to get really messy. What is he making this perfume with? So this is about an anti-hero whose singular voice, mysterious pedigree, and appalling yet elegant criminal mind have lingered in my memory like the scent of my mother's Madame Rochas perfume. So that's really interesting. Like is he like creating these scents from your memory by like chopping you open and taking like a piece of your mind or something? Okay, so Goodreads, what do you have to say for yourself? Okay, so this one has a 4.30. That's pretty good. Only 37 ratings, so not a ton of people have read this one yet. And it doesn't look like it's going to provide us with much more information for this one. It's taking place in New York City. Manipulating fellow struggling artists into acting as accomplices is easy. Like Vic, they are too on the verge of burnout and bankruptcy. But as relationships become more complicated, Vic's careful plans start to unravel. Hounded by guilt and a tenacious private investigator, Vic grows increasingly desperate to complete Eisner's commission. Is there anyone, friends, lovers, co-conspirators that Vic won't sacrifice for art? I kind of mainly just feel confused by this one. If my theory is correct and he is like opening up people for their scents or something to make these perfumes, like who's gonna buy them? Because they would have been the ones to buy them. I don't know. This one sounds interesting. Okay, so next we have a woman's fiction, Impossible to Forget. This novel poses a very difficult question. What would you do if a friend asked you to help raise her child? This moving book starts as a group gathers for the reading of their dear friend Angie's will. What's revealed manages to upend their lives more than they thought possible. In her will, Angie has asked them to guide and parent her 18-year-old daughter. It's an opening that immediately captured my imagination. What an ask, what a responsibility to put on your friends, not least because Tiger, Maggie, Leon, and Hope hadn't already agreed to it. I wondered how would I respond in such a situation. Okay, that one doesn't sound like super crazy. Like, the daughter's an adult, she's 18, and 4 of them are asked to like look out for her, so it's not like super crazy. It's not like it's like a baby or something. Wow, this one has a 4.55. That's pretty good. Just turned 18, Romany is on the cusp of taking her first steps into adulthood when a tragedy strikes and she finds herself suddenly alone without her mother, Angie, the only parent she has ever known. In her last letter, Angie has charged her 4 closest friends with guiding Romany through her last year of school, but is there an ulterior motive to her unusual dying wish? Okay, so there's our twist. I was wondering, I'm like, that doesn't really sound like that crazy of a book, like, oh, you know, like, help guide my daughter. Like, it kind of makes sense where it's like, oh, you should probably do that anyway if your friend dies. But I like that there's like kind of a secret to the book. That's kind of nice. Each of the 4 guardians possesses an outlook on life that Angie wants to give her daughter as a legacy. 3 of them have known each other since university. We have Tiger, Leon, Maggie. Oh, but the 4th guardian is a mystery to the others. They've never even heard of former model Hope before. As the guardians reflect on their friendship with Angie, it becomes apparent that this unusual arrangement is as much about them as it is Romany. Navigating their grief individually and as a group, what will 5 of them learn about themselves, their past, and the woman who brought them all together? Okay, so I actually like the twist better that 3 of them don't know like the 4th friend, because otherwise it would just kind of be like 4 friends like coming together to help their dead friend's daughter, which would be like the nice thing to do anyway. So, but I do like that there's kind of like that mystery of like, who is this person and why is this person here? Okay, we have a historical fantasy. I like fantasy books. This one is The Raven Spell. Set in murky Victorian London, the book begins with a nursery rhyme where a man's stolen memories become part of a woman's magical collection. Ooh, that sounds good. Witch sisters Edwina and Mary Blackwood run a curio shop full of items they pick up mudlarking along the river. But Mary isn't just out for the semi-precious baubles they find. She is fascinated by the dead, gathering their memories into glowing orbs that resemble nothing more than children's marbles. When Mary steals the memory of a man that ends up living, however, she sets into motion a murder mystery that threatens the bond she and her sister have always shared and points to a serial killer at work. That took an unexpected turn. I always like lean on the romance and I'm like, oh, do they fall in love? Does she steal his memories and then like they fall in love or something? But no, it's like someone dies. Okay. If you're like me, not always dreaming of a sunny summer beaches, but instead sometimes longing for a chilly English winter full of rain, fireplaces, and witches' magic, put some fuzzy socks on because the Raven Spell is for you. Okay, so it's kind of darker. There's like a mystery there. Okay, so this is Conspiracy of Magic #1. So kind of like that if you like it, then there's going to be more in the series. In Victorian England, a witch and a detective are on the hunt for a serial killer in an enthralling novel of magic and murder. So is the guy that got his memory the detective? After a nearly fatal blow to the skull, traumatized private detective Ian is found dazed and confused on a muddy riverbank in Victorian London. Among his effects, a bloodstained business card bearing the name of a master wizard and a curious pocket watch that doesn't seem to tell time. To retrieve his lost memories, Ian demands answers from Edwina and Mary Blackwood, sister witches with a murky past. But as their secret is slowly unveiled, a dangerous mystery emerges on the darkened streets of London. To help piece together Ian's lost time, he and Edwina embark on a journey that will take them from the river foreshore to an East End music hall and on to a safe house for witches in need of sanctuary from angry mortals. The clues they find suggest a link between a series of gruesome murders, a missing persons case, a dreadful suspicion, and threatens to tear apart the bonds of sisterhood. As the investigation deepens, could Ian and Edwina be the next to die? Not really sure about this one. So the business card has the name of a master wizard, but they aren't the master wizards, but they're trying to find out who the master wizard is. I don't know. That one seems a little... I'm actually kind of surprised by that one. I thought that the synopsis for that one would be a little bit... that's not the route I thought that one was taking. Okay, so we have a memoir. This one is They Said They Wanted Revolution. And that's a cool cover too. A memoir of my parents. That's pretty cool. Okay. How does one grapple with the violent loss of a parent at an early age? In this gripping real-life political thriller, a daughter looks back at her family's tragic experience with the Iranian Revolution. This sounds interesting. When Neda was 4 years old, her father was arrested and eventually executed during the rise of the Islamic Republic. Her pregnant mother had to escape with young Neda and begin a new life in the United States with few resources. So this one's kind of cool. I like that the author's kind of like digging into her past and her parents and trying to find out more about them. That sounds really interesting. Okay, so this one's little synopsis is pretty short, but it has a 4.29, so that's pretty good. Okay, it tells the story of her parents, Neda's father's death by execution at the hands of the Iranian state, which forced Neda's mother to flee Iran for California in 1982. Though Neda grew up far from Iran and the revolution, she felt its undertow, suffering from PTSD and longing for her missing father. Eventually, she realized that in order to move forward, she needed to face the past head on. That's pretty cool. So I wonder how old she was when they came here. Guess I'd have to read it to find out. Okay, so next we have a contemporary fiction, Deconstructed. Cricket Crosby thought her life was all sewn up. Nice house, banker husband, teenage daughter, a successful antique shop frequented by all the ladies in Shreveport. But everything falls apart when she overhears two of those snooty ladies talking about her husband's affair with her daughter's tennis coach. Bummer, dude. Not one to wallow, Cricket resolves to take control of her life before her husband's unchecked libido can do any more harm. But she can't do it alone, and the one woman who comes to her aid surprises Cricket and offers her to help her seemingly quiet employee, Ruby. Ruby's done her best to refashion her life after a run-in with the law. Nothing's more fashionable than a little light revenge. Okay. I definitely feel like I need some more information about this one. 4.35, over 300 ratings. Okay, so same kind of information. She's going to hire an investigator. I don't know why. You already know he's cheating on you. Find an attorney, enlist the help of her new assistant to make her husband pay. Ruby knows how quickly everything changes after a dicey past. She's determined to forge a new future by working for Cricket and reinventing herself as a designer, deconstructing vintage haute couture. It turns out Cricket's life isn't just a little torn, it's wrinkled, stained, and falling apart at the seams. With Ruby, her ragtag relatives, PI, and hunky tow truck driver, Cricket is sleuthing her way to the truth no matter how dangerous it gets. Sure, Cricket's life isn't all she imagined, but she's embracing change and figuring out what she really wants, and that is kind of fabulous. I'm a little confused by this one because I don't really understand, or I'm curious to know what like the truth is, because like you know that your husband's having an affair, like is there more to it, or are you just trying to find out more information about that? I don't know. Okay, so we have two more, and it looks like they actually added in a second memoir book. But first we have a children's picture book. They always do like a children's picture book in addition to the novels. This one is called I Am You. I'm just going to move on though because I don't ever pick the picture book. So this one is a memoir. called Almost Romance. Okay, so with the other memoir, it seemed like it was more about like her parents and learning about like her like history and things like that. This one more seems like it's about the actual person who wrote the book. I'm not sure who Nancy, I think it's Balbirer is. She writes about how she had quit trying to find love, turned 50, and had just gone through a painful divorce. She tried dating, but after a series of relationship disasters, she decided to focus on her writing and her tween daughter. Nancy reconnects with Howie, her college friend, and together they start a 9-month whirlwind bi-coastal romance. The relationship in their 30-year journey that led them to the altar had so many twists and turns that it ended up as a full-page story in the New York Times. This memoir goes deeper and shares an uplifting and hopeful message, and I believe it will inspire readers to see that love can happen at any age when you least expect it. That's interesting. I don't know what article they're talking about. I'll have to look that up. Okay, a 3.61. Oh, this one's really short. It's only 189 pages. Finding Love is all a matter of timing in a surprising, complicated, and funny memoir by the author of A Marriage in Dog Years. When a mysterious woman summons Nancy to a Russian restaurant in New York City, the near stranger's shocking purple hair and even more shocking news send her simultaneously reeling back to her past and hurtling toward a future that, almost at 50 years old, she never dreamed possible. This romantic comedy memoir tells the true story of how a pack of Hollywood television writers and the denizens of a fabled but cursed Manhattan apartment building helped the author and one of her best friends turn a 32 almost romance into a real one. Sounds interesting. It kind of sounds like a romance book, but based on her real life. So, which, speaking of romance books, there were none this month. I am surprised by that. I feel like there's always usually a romance book to pick from, and I always like lean towards it. So now I'm like, well, what am I gonna pick? But I actually do know what I think I'm gonna pick. I'm very intrigued by The Lobotomist's Wife. I'm super into like retellings, so this one's kind of like a historical fiction retelling based on like a real person. So I'm actually really curious to see how the author is going to change the ending. So I think I'm gonna pick that one, and I hope it's good. But if I weren't picking that one, I probably, and I might still read it anyway, The Night Burned Bright actually sounds really interesting to me. I'm actually really curious, like storytelling wise, like where the author is going to go with that one. So I might add that one to my like to be read, and like maybe I'll keep it on like the back burner if I'm looking for something to read. Thanks for watching today's video. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comments below which of these Amazon First Reads books you picked. We'll see you next time. Bye!